Minister Malcolm has agreed to answer questions, and the time that remains, we have to adjourn this meeting at 1 o'clock. Would anyone who has a question raise his hand? I'm going to take a question from right in front for now and ask the questioner to come up to the microphone and repeat his question. And meanwhile, will other people having questions walk, not run, and seat themselves on the steps here, and we'll take them in turn as much time as we have. We want questions, not speeches. Brief questions, please.
In the last issue of Muhammad Speaks, there was an article telling of the elimination of racial discrimination in Cuba, telling of how Afro and Latin Cubans lived in harmony. How does this jive with the devil concept of the white man and the idea that freedom can only be achieved through separation?
The Cubans don't refer to themselves either as white people or black people. They refer to themselves as people. You find the American white man is the one who has laid such stress on being white or being black. When you become a Muslim, you don't look at a man as being black, brown, red, or yellow. You look upon him as being a man. And this is something that is foreign to the American concept. I don't know anything about Cuba. The article was written by Howard, a UN correspondent who spent time in Cuba along with the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when all of the students went. And they did say that they found a great deal of equality, freedom, and justice among the people of Cuba. So I think that in that direction, Castro has made a great accomplishment and contribution. But I haven't been there myself. Now, when you try and bring the same thing about between the American white man and the American black man, you're dealing with a man who used to have total possession over the black people in this country as a farmer has possession over his cow, his chicken, his horse. And this has created an attitude among American whites that they themselves find almost impossible to eliminate. And unless it is eliminated and until it is eliminated, the problem will get worse instead of better. I personally don't think it will ever be eliminated.
Sir, you mentioned that you would like...
This lady first, please.
Well, how do you intend to gain possession of this land that you want, and how do you intend to get there?
That's a good question. Number one, we didn't have any trouble getting to America because the white man... By that I mean we weren't pilgrims, we didn't come on the Mayflower, and we didn't come from Europe, and we didn't come of our own volition. We were brought here in chains at the bottom of a slave ship. And since we didn't pay transportation here, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the contribution that the black man made in this country, which amounts to 310 years of slave labor, for which we have never been given a dime or a cent, places a burden upon the American white man today for which the government should pay. And he says that our people should be allowed to go back to our own homeland, that the government itself should supply us with the transportation, and that they should supply us with the machinery and the tools necessary that will enable us to dig the soil and develop our own agricultural system and feed ourselves for the next 20 to 25 years until we are in a position to be completely independent and stand on our own feet. And he says that if the government does not want a mass exodus of black people from this country back to our own homeland, since we cannot live in peace together, mixed up on this continent, the alternative to that solution is to divide a separate part of this country into which our people can migrate and in which the government, again, should supply us with the machinery and the tools necessary to establish our own independent society and our own independent country. And in this way, it will be creating a solution that the black man himself, our people, ourselves, can bring about if we have that capability. And for your clarification, because this has been brought up, some people say, well, why should the government do this? If this government can send billions of dollars to communist countries like Poland and Yugoslavia and to neutralist countries in Asia and Africa who have never made any contribution whatsoever to the sum net worth of this economy and country, and at the same time This government feels that it is too much to set about something real to solve the problem for the slaves who made a greater contribution even than your people did, why the government doesn't even deserve to continue to function as a government.
You mentioned, again just now, land set aside for your people, sir. What land is available that's not already possessed by others?
When you came to this country, the land was inhabited by the Indians, and you didn't have any problem then.
Actually, I have two questions. The first one, I would like to ask you, if you believe in Islam just because it gives you dignity as a black man as a black man lives in America, or do you believe in Islam as a whole? So if you believe in Islam as a whole, you know that Islam believe in socialism rather than capitalism. This is the first question. Second question, you said that Muhammad taught you that you should have your own land so you can find all what you want or to do what you want in it. Will you please give me one statement, either from the Quran or from Muhammad's speeches, which asks for this situation? Thank you.
If I understood my Muslim brother correctly, I hope he's aware of the fact that my opening statement pointed out that the front page of the San Francisco Chronicle, I think it was, told me that the only way I could come here and speak was to speak on secular matters rather than religious. And for that reason, I pointed out at the outstart that I wasn't going to get on the religion of Islam. But since you as a student, I imagine, brought it up, it does open the door for me to reply, and I thank you for it. Number one, Islam is a word in which means in Arabic complete submission to the will of God, complete obedience to the will of God. And this means, and the Jews refer to this God as Jehovah. They're monotheistic. The Christians refer to him, I think, as Christ, only they're polytheistic, and it's difficult to give one name to their many gods. So that in Islam, since we believe that there is one God, we believe that all of the prophets who came forth on this earth taught the same religion. Abraham was a Muslim. Moses was a Muslim. Jesus was a Muslim. And as a black man in America, we accept the religion of Islam because we recognize it as the true religion of God. This is why I'm a Muslim. I am a Muslim because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught me that Islam is God's only religion. And that it does say in the Holy Quran that this religion will overcome all other religions. We believe that we're living in the day and the time and at the hour when God intends to make this religion, Islam, overcome all other religions. This is why we're Muslims. And we want to separate ourselves from America because we believe that when God comes to establish the religion of Islam, or the kingdom of Islam, or the world of Islam, he can't do so without first destroying all other religions, governments, nations, and worlds that stand in his way. All governments that won't accept one religion and practice the principles of brotherhood, freedom, justice, and equality among all people, regardless of color, regardless of race, or anything else involved, we believe that they'll be destroyed today, and we don't think that you can get the American people to accept the religion of Islam. I have no knowledge of socialism. That's something else.
Sir, you seem to interchange the term white liberal with hypocritical politician. I don't believe this is true. I don't believe that our white liberals are in office. They are, by the way, investigated.
Question, please.
I just wondered why you interchange these terms when they're so evidently not interchangeable.
Historically, in America, the white liberal has been the one always supposedly who had the solution to the race problem. An example, the leading white liberal in American history was supposed to be Abraham Lincoln. He's the one who has been dangled in front of our people as a god who brought us out of slavery into the promised land of freedom. Martin Luther King last year was begging President Kennedy to issue another Emancipation Proclamation. If the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln was authentic and produced the result that it was supposed to, and if it had been sincere, it would have gotten results, then Martin Luther King wouldn't have to be begging for another proclamation and emancipation today. Another time, the white liberals supposedly fought the Civil War to free the slaves, and our people are still slaves, still begging for freedom. Some more white liberals came along with the so-called 13th, 14th, 15th, and other amendments to the Constitution, supposedly to solve our problem. The Constitution has been amended, and the problem is still here. 9 white liberals on the Supreme Court bench came up with a desegregation decision in 1954, supposedly to desegregate the schools, and the schools haven't been desegregated yet. Kennedy ran on a platform as a white liberal 3 years ago and said all he had to do was take out his fountain pen and put his name on some paper and our problem would be solved, and it was 3 years in office before he found where his fountain pen was, and the problem isn't solved yet.
I'd recognize this gentleman, please.
Well, I'm a second-generation American, and my people came over in the bottom of ships, and they had second-class citizenship in Europe, and they lived in ghettos and things of this sort, and they got out of them. And how come I have certain attitudes towards Negroes that may be prejudiced? Where did I get these attitudes? If they weren't from the Negro people, none of my people ever owned slaves or anything of this sort. How did I get my prejudices?
If you didn't steal the property, you can be held responsible today for being in possession of stolen goods. The book says that the sins of the fathers will be visited upon the heads of the children even into the 7th generation. And although there are many whites who came here from Europe after 1865, they fit right into the whole overhaul pattern of exploitation of modern slavery that still exists in this country today. Because it's only a modern form of slavery that our people experience today, and white liberals, again, encourage us to join groups that they've set up that they call the National Association for the Advancement of Some Colored People from Ancient Slavery to Modern Slavery. If I may add, your mention of white immigrants just coming here proves the inability of Negroes to solve this problem by the present course or the past course that they've been taking. Well, it's true. Italians, French, Spanish, and others came here as immigrants, uneducated, poverty-stricken. And their parents were able to open up stores, little stores. They lived in the back, sent their children to school. Their children studied business and came back and expanded the businesses. And most businesses in the white community today are called so-and-so brothers, so-and-so and son, and so forth. This is how you establish what you call the American economy, somewhat speaking on the run. Negroes have been here free since 1865, so-called, have a purchasing power of $20 billion per year, have more education than any group, any minority group on this earth. You can't go in the Negro community anywhere in the Bay Area and find 5 businesses owned by Negroes, so-and-so and son, or so-and-so brothers. The mistake that we made differs from the mistake you didn't make. Your parents solved your problems economically, of their own volition, with their own ingenuity. Our leaders have done nothing to teach us how to go in business. They've done nothing to teach us how to elevate the level of our schools. They've done nothing to teach us how to keep up the standard of our community. It is not the masses of black people who are at fault for this. It's this Negro puppet that the white liberal has set over the Negro community to act as our leader and act as our spokesman, who has failed to show us how to solve our own problems, so we remain crippled and expect to follow the advice of this white liberal who does nothing but continue to exploit us instead of trying to help us solve the problem. Hope I didn't answer you too long.
We have time for only one more question, I'm afraid. And I'd recognize this gentleman.
I would like to ask Mr. X simply, why cannot a Negro infiltrate the political machine and use power politics to his own end?
If he studied the science of politics, he probably would. Most Negroes don't. They become involved politically from an emotional point of view rather than a scientific point of view. You show me a Negro politician, and I'll show you one who's controlled by the white political machine. And if you show me one who isn't controlled by the white political machine, I'll show you one whom the white political machine has labeled as a racist, an extremist. And Adam Powell is one of the best examples of it. Anyone that they endorse who will do what they want him to do, he's all right. But when you become politically independent in this country, the whites immediately label you as a racist. The reason for this is the only way you can become politically independent of the white political machine is to have the support of the black masses. The only way you can get the support of the black masses is to say how they think and how they feel. And when you begin to speak to the black masses, how they feel and think, then the whites call you a racist, because you have to talk in the context of the intense degree of dissatisfaction that exists in the Negro community. Whites don't want to hear this. They want to be told that the problem is being solved. You're not solving the problem for anybody but a few hand-picked Uncle Tom Negroes who benefit from your token integration. And as long as you deal with them, you're going to be adding more powder to a keg that's inside your house that can blow you higher if it explodes than 1,000,000 megaton bombs. But when you get out here and find how the masses of black people really feel, you're too intelligent to act as you act, if you know how they really feel. And the only black man who will tell you exactly how a black man feels is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The rest of them are going to talk to you out the corner of their mouth, try and make friends with you.
I think you'll all join me in thanking Minister Malcolm for this very frank, very full, and very eloquent expression of the black Muslim point of view. The meeting is adjourned.